Let's get to the phones. Pick up with Congressman John Culberson. Congressman Culberson, how are you tonight?
Lance, great to be with you.
I'm happy to be here. You've haven't had you here on a while, so glad you're here.
It's great to be with you, and particularly to share some very good news.
Yeah, you got to
fellow
win.
Houstonians.
Yes, you got to win. Tell us about it.
Well, Lance, it's the genius of the Founding Fathers. They gave us all the tools we need in that constitutional toolbox to rein in an out-of-control executive. And thanks to the people of Houston, I'm the chairman of the Commerce, Justice, Science, Appropriations Subcommittee. So I'm the chairman of the committee in charge of all the funding for the Department of Justice. With the help of my wonderful staff, for the last 12 months, I've been working quietly behind the scenes. And yesterday at 3:07 p.m., the Department of Justice announced that they will no longer provide federal law enforcement grants to sanctuary cities. It's a 180-degree reversal, and it's because of the power of the purse that the founders entrusted to Congress and the people of District 7 entrusted to me. And I just, stayed with it. Great staff work. But I got the Department of Justice to actually tell every law enforcement agency in America, every city, every county, every state, they have to choose now between protecting criminal illegal aliens or receiving federal grant money. They can't do both anymore.
That's good. Now, how does that affect Houston?
Houston does not have a sanctuary policy in writing. I can't find one in writing. But I can tell you that Travis County and Dallas County are in trouble because they have a written policy that explicitly prohibits their Travis County police officers, Dallas County police officers from cooperating with federal immigration authorities, with sharing. They prohibit Dallas or Travis County officers from sharing information regarding immigration status. That's no longer acceptable. The law since 1996, Lance, has been that local and state law enforcement agencies cannot interfere, quote, in any way, close quote, with the sharing of immigration information with federal authorities. That law has been on the books since 1996, and it was not enforced until 3:07 p.m. yesterday afternoon.
Okay, so interesting point you bring up there. I guess, is this something that you thought through, or is this something we're going to have to come back and potentially address? No, I haven't got the question yet. The question is this. If Houston, as an example, doesn't have a policy in writing, which means that theoretically they could say, okay, guys, we're a sanctuary city. We're just not going to advertise it so we can keep getting federal funds, but we're just going to act like a sanctuary city versus having one in writing. Do we see Dallas and other counties basically, say, yes, Congressman Culberson, we're going to get rid of our written policy. We're not going to be a sanctuary city, but then behind the scenes they act like it anyway?
They can't get away with that, Lance, because the Department of Justice policy that was issued yesterday afternoon, I made certain that the policy directs every law enforcement agency in America to instruct their officers, all their personnel, all their officers, that they must cooperate 100% of the time with every single request for information regarding defendants in their custody about immigration. Local officials have to cooperate with the detainer requests. The federal government issues, when a criminal illegal alien is about to be released from a county jail or a state prison, the federal government will issue what's called a detainer, that individual, he's here illegally. When they finish serving their term in a state or a local jail, then the federal government issues this detainer and says, we want that guy. As soon as you release him, we're going to deport him. The sanctuary cities refuse to honor those detainers.
That's right.
Those days are over. They have now to choose, even if they don't have a written policy, if their officers refuse to honor federal detainers and if local officers refuse to share information, the Department of Justice guidance issued yesterday at 3:07 p.m. says you will lose all of your federal law enforcement grant money, and it's big money.
Yes.
It's a lot of money.
Let me ask you a question. So the person, or the illegal immigrant that murdered Kate Steinle out in San Francisco, he was a 4-time deported immigrant that kept, we deported him, he came back, deported him, came back, finally deported him, came back, and he killed Kate Steinle. Would this rule, and particularly San Francisco, which is a sanctuary city, if this rule had been in place before, would it have potentially prevented that murder?
Yes, because San Francisco would have to choose, Lance, between receiving federal law enforcement grant money or protecting and shielding criminal illegal aliens. And what's even better about the way that the Department of Justice issued this rule And it took me literally 12 months of intense behind-the-scene pressure to get them to do it. But if you go, I encourage anybody, go to the Office of Justice Assistance. I think it's the Office of Justice Assistance grant website on the Department of Justice website, and you'll see in there when it comes to is it called Burn Justice Assistance Grant, Burn JAG program, or the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, SCAP, SCAAP. Those two grant programs, and COPS is next. When you log on there as a grant officer for the San Francisco Sheriff's Department, you see not only do you have to, unless you certify under oath that you're sharing information 100% of the time, that you're honoring detainers 100% of the time, you lose all your federal grant money. You're subject to civil and criminal penalties. This is on the Department of Justice website. And then finally, Lance, the one I like best is it says if you have to return all federal law enforcement money you ever received.
Wow.
If the San Francisco didn't change their policy, if the state of California does not repeal their statewide sanctuary policy law, not only will they lose eligibility, Lance, but I made certain that California is going to owe the U.S. taxpayers a refund for the last 20-plus years of federal law enforcement money they've received, and that's about $4 billion that California will owe U.S. taxpayers until they repeal their sanctuary policies. I'm done. And we finally, it's done as of 3:07 p.m. yesterday.
That's great. So real quick here, before I have to let you go, Loretta Lynch yesterday, speaking of Department of Justice, since you're working with her, she's in the middle of one of her speeches talked about Black Lives Matter. And, of course, this is relating to the police officers that were shot yesterday. Basically saying that, they needed to, stay motivated and keep working forward this whole Black Lives Matter issue. Is there a way that you can start repealing the funding for the Department of Justice?
Well, you don't want to hurt, for example, the career prosecutors, the professionals in the Department of Justice. The political types have been the problem. The political appointees that are in lockstep with this radical left-wing president are the problem, Lance. The professional prosecutors, the folks that are there who take their oath of office seriously, we don't want to damage those professional law enforcement officers at the Department of Justice or the FBI. And I'll tell you how deeply, deeply disappointed I am in Director Comey, who really just damaged the credibility of the FBI immeasurably yesterday.
Just a wee tad, yes.
It's horrible. And those guys, you know what? There's the political hacks at the Department of Justice. Those people are going to be gone in a few months. But those lifelong professionals that keep us safe every day, you want to do your best to protect them. But this is what the founders intended, Lance, is for the Congress to use the power of the purse and pressure the executive branch to enforce the law the right way. What's wonderful about this is, Lance, I did not pass a bill. I have no language in my CJS bill. There's no amendment. There's no report language. I never passed a bill or an amendment. This was done entirely behind the scenes using the power of the purse the founders entrusted to Congress. In fact, I told the folks at the Department of Justice, go ahead and sue me. You can't do a thing about it. I'm in charge of your money, and you can't get a court order to make me give you money. I'm basically your CFO. You will enforce the law, or there's going to be consequences. And I'm very grateful the Department of Justice professionals, the lifelong professionals over there, did the right thing and said, California and you other sanctuary states and cities, you have to choose now. From now on, you can't get federal money and shield illegal aliens. You got to do one or the other.
And Congressman Culberson, I certainly appreciate what you did on that front. And the problem is that sometimes, in order for us to get to where we need to be, and look, we've got a lot of things we have to fix with this government. We may have to damage some of these very professionals that you want to shield away from these political hacks. But the only way to get rid of the political hacks is we may have to go after a whole department first. We may have to actually damage some of these individuals, fix the problem, and then get these professionals back to work.
Well, actually, Lance, you're right, because that threat, because as the chairman of the subcommittee, I'm like the chief financial officer for the Department of Justice.
Exactly.
I have the ability to block their ability to. They can't move money within the department without my approval, and they know that. And the professionals over there say, I told them, it's flat up. I got the ATF to drop the ammo ban on 223 ammunition last year in about 3 working days using the same technique. So they have to have my approval. There's a lot of good people at Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms that are professional law enforcement, but I had to hurt, I was going to have to, say, listen, I'm going to have to hurt the whole department, and I don't want to do that. So let's do the right thing here.
Yeah, and
so
that's what I'm saying. You may have to do that. And you may have to do that with the Department of Justice. You may have to do that with the IRS. And look, I agree that we don't want to hurt innocent people, but there's more at stake potentially here than just a few jobs.
There is indeed, and I am so frustrated. This Obama administration has been so lawless, so out of control. Congress has got to rein them in. So, Lance, the good news today is, the people of Houston, is sanctuary cities have to choose. They want the federal money or protect the illegal aliens. You can't do both anymore.
And congratulations, John Culberson. That was a great job on your part, and let's have you back here soon and stay in touch.
We'll do it.
Thanks.